Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the game you've been so diligently playing, the relentless pursuit of success, recognition, and self-fulfillment, was rigged against you from the start. The rules you've been so carefully following weren't designed for your benefit, but to maintain the status quo, to keep people in their lanes, and prevent any meaningful change. But here's the secret. Once you recognize the true nature of these rules, you gain the power to change them. What if you were told that you have the power not just to stop playing by someone else's rules, but to completely turn the game in your favor? What if the very systems that seem to hold you back could be transformed into stepping stones to unprecedented success? This question will be examined in detail in the following sections. By the end of this analysis, you'll have a clear understanding of how to reshape the reality around you so that it works for you, not against you. And the final revelation, one of the most powerful insights, has the potential to fundamentally change your approach to every problem that arises in your life. But first, let's dissect the illusion of the so-called fixed game. From early childhood, we're conditioned to believe that life operates within rigid, unchanging structures. We're constantly told about the need to follow the path established by society, get into an educational institution, get a diploma, get a job, work tirelessly for the benefit of the company, and then retire on a well-deserved pension. Success is expected to come through obedience, through adaptation, and unwavering compliance with what is expected of you. However, there is an important aspect that is often overlooked. The triumphant in life do not simply adhere to established norms. They boldly question them, skillfully adapt them to their needs, or even brazenly violate them. Psychologist Carol Dweck, in her groundbreaking research on growth mindset, has convincingly demonstrated that a person's intelligence and abilities are not fixed categories but dynamic qualities that can be developed and improved through perseverance and carefully crafted strategies. If this concept applies to human potential, it also applies to life itself. The systems around us are not immutable. They can be deeply understood, effectively used, and creatively redesigned. In this regard, a logical question arises. When was the last time you dared to question the rules by which you live? Are these rules really your personal choice, or were they imposed on you by society, family, or outdated traditions? To vividly illustrate this idea, let's turn to the story of Sara Blakely, a billionaire and founder of Spanx. She wasn't born into luxury and didn't have influential connections in the business world. Before creating her multi-billion-dollar empire, she sold fax machines, persistently going door to door. However, instead of meekly accepting the mundane, she identified a pressing problem that no one had solved before her. She had neither the formal education nor the experience that, according to conventional wisdom, were necessary for success in this field. But she resolutely refused to let these circumstances stop her. She rewrote the rules of the game, setting her own terms. The result was a revolution in the fashion industry that forever changed its appearance. Perhaps someone will consider this suitable only for a certain circle of people. However, the essence of innovation lies in the ability to navigate life situations. This is an understanding that fate is not predetermined, and there is always a chance to change the course of events. Epictetus once remarked that it is not the situation itself that matters, but the reaction to it. Life is full of surprises, difficulties, and failures, but those who succeed are distinguished not by luck, but by a special perception. As soon as a person begins to see obstacles not as barriers but as opportunities, everything changes. Failures and disappointments can become stepping stones to success, and each problem can become an incentive for innovation and the development of new strategies. It is worth considering which problem a person perceives as an insurmountable obstacle. What will happen if you rethink it and see a chance for maneuver and rise to a new level? History knows many examples of when people changed the world not by following the rules, but by questioning them. Albert Einstein did not accept the limitations of classical physics and rewrote the laws of reality. Rosa Parks did not submit to unjust social norms, challenged them, and changed the course of history. However, as practice shows, many underestimate that turning the game around is not just an act of disobedience or a rejection of generally accepted norms, but a carefully thought-out tactic. The essence lies in a deep analysis of existing systems in order to identify hidden opportunities, points of maximum impact, and unobvious advantages that escape most people. These aspects will be explored in detail below. The following section will introduce the art of strategic thinking, the ability to anticipate events, recognize patterns, and make decisions that fundamentally shift the balance of power in your favor. It is worth noting that the strategies that will be studied will forever change your approach to decision-making. Now that the illusion of unchanging rules has been dispelled, it is time to delve into strategic thinking, the main tool for achieving superiority in any situation. Recognizing the rules is only the first step, but mastering strategy allows you to use these rules to your advantage. Imagine life as a chess game. Most players act spontaneously, reacting to their opponent's moves, playing conservatively, and limiting themselves to the boundaries they themselves set. However, true masters calculate their moves several steps ahead, anticipate events, plan, and act with impeccable precision. The difference lies not only in intelligence, but also in strategic awareness. But how does strategic thinking manifest itself in practice? This question requires detailed consideration. First and foremost, it all begins with an awareness of the power of leverage, the ability to achieve impressive results with minimal effort, directing energy precisely at the target and at the right moment. It's not about exhausting work, but about a more rational approach to the matter. The ancient Greek scientist Archimedes once remarked, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." This principle is relevant not only in physics, but also in life. Take, for example, the story of Oprah Winfrey. Growing up in poverty, facing numerous difficulties, she not only surpassed everyone in perseverance, but also outmaneuvered them strategically. She saw the unique opportunity for the mass media to shape public opinion and influence culture. She did not limit herself to the role of a talk show host, but created an entire media empire, using her platform to build a brand that resonates with millions of people. Instead of following the beaten path, she created her own path, turning every failure into an incentive for further development. It is quite possible that someone might think, yes, Oprah Winfrey is an exceptional person, endowed with special talent and charisma. However, the truth is that everyone possesses their own leverage, and the task is simply to discover it. This lever can stem from a unique set of skills, well-established relationships, the ability to manage time, or even a special perspective on things. The point is to identify those qualities and resources that are unique to you, those that others do not have, or the ability to see opportunities where others see only a hopeless situation. In this regard, the question arises, what is your unique leverage? What skills, accumulated experience, or original ideas are in your arsenal that go unnoticed by others? Remember those moments when you managed to achieve success despite all obstacles. What exactly did you use as a fulcrum? What gave you a decisive advantage? The next important element of strategic thinking is pattern recognition. Life is not a chaotic accumulation of random events, but rather a complex system permeated with repeating patterns, which manifest themselves both in the behavior of others and in emerging opportunities. The main task is to learn to notice these patterns at the earliest stages of their formation. Take, for example, Warren Buffett, one of the most outstanding investors in history. The secret to his success lies not in the use of complex mathematical formulas, but in his unique ability to recognize patterns in market behavior, people's psychology, and the fundamental principles of doing business. He sees opportunities where others miss them because he has learned to identify trends long before they become obvious to everyone. However, pattern recognition is a skill that is useful not only for billionaires and financial geniuses. It is applicable to all areas of life. In career, personal relationships, and the process of self-development, patterns are found everywhere. The better you are aware of their existence, the more accurately you can predict outcomes and take advantageous positions to achieve success. Think about the twists and turns of fate, about the lessons it teaches, but remain unnoticed. Remember the recurring failures, missed opportunities, as if slipping through your fingers. What if you look at these patterns from a different angle? See in them not just chance, but keys to understanding the rules of the game called life. The third, and perhaps the most important element of strategic thinking, is adaptability, flexibility of mind, and willingness to change. In any life battle, those who stubbornly stick to a once-chosen tactic ultimately fail. The world around us is dynamic and changeable, and those who cling to outdated strategies risk being left on the sidelines of progress. Charles Darwin, the great scientist, argued that it is not the strongest who survives, but the one who is best adapted to change. This principle applies not only to biological species, but also to people striving to succeed in a complex modern world. The ability to change course in time, to adjust strategy in accordance with new circumstances, is what distinguishes the successful from those doomed to stagnation. A striking example is the history of Netflix. At the dawn of its existence, it was a DVD rental service. The company could have continued down the beaten path and shared the sad fate of Blockbuster, sinking into oblivion. But Netflix chose a different path: adaptation. The company boldly embraced streaming technology and then began investing in creating its own original content. As a result, Netflix not only survived, but became a dominant player in the market, thanks to its willingness to change strategy in accordance with the changing landscape. Therefore, it is worth asking yourself, in what areas of life is there resistance to change? What aspects of activity can benefit from the introduction of innovative approaches, fresh ideas, or radical changes? It is important to understand that readiness for adaptation is not a manifestation of weakness, but rather a sign of strategic thinking and foresight. In the process of exploring key elements such as leverage, pattern recognition, and adaptability, it becomes clear how they are interconnected, forming a solid foundation for transforming the situation. However, simply knowing these concepts is not enough. It is necessary to actively apply them in practice, question established beliefs, go beyond the usual comfort zone, and take calculated risks. Further narration will consider practical strategies that can be started today to change the course of events in your favor. Effective steps will be presented for identifying leverage, identifying patterns, and embracing adaptability, leading to tangible results and success. But the most important discovery, which will change the perception of every opportunity and obstacle, is yet to come. So, after the key principles of strategic thinking, such as the use of leverage, the identification of patterns, and adaptability, have been studied, it is time to apply this knowledge in practice. Understanding the theoretical aspects is certainly important, but real transformation occurs when these principles begin to be applied in everyday life. After all, changing the rules of the game is not just a certain way of thinking, it is active action. Where to start this process to change circumstances in your favor? First of all, It is necessary to determine your points of application of efforts. Each person has unique qualities and abilities that can be used to achieve success. However, often people do not notice their strengths because they are too focused on shortcomings or constantly compare themselves with others. It is important to remember that leverage is not always about having a large number of resources or influential connections. Sometimes it manifests itself in the ability to see value where others do not notice it. As an example, we can cite the story of Chris Gardner, the prototype of the main character in the film The Pursuit of Happiness. Faced with homelessness and the need to raise a young son, he did not allow difficult circumstances to break him. Instead, he was able to identify his leverage, unwavering determination, and the ability to surpass anyone in hard work. Lacking financial support or useful connections, he had persistence, which he used as a tool to get an unpaid internship at a brokerage firm. Ultimately, thanks to his perseverance, he became a successful stockbroker. Each person has hidden potential, their unique advantage, which can be the key to success. Perhaps it is a skill honed to perfection, the value of which has not yet been fully realized, or a branched network of contacts, the possibilities of which have yet to be revealed. Or maybe it is a special vision of the world that distinguishes from the crowd and allows you to look at things from a different angle. The main thing is to stop underestimating your own strengths and believe in your exclusivity. Once this advantage is determined, it is time for strategic risks. Most people avoid risky steps, fearing discomfort and possible failures. However, history knows many examples when the most significant achievements were the result of bold decisions that others did not dare to take. However, it's crucial to understand the difference between reckless adventures and calculated risks. The latter requires thorough preparation and in-depth analysis. Take, for example, Elon Musk, whose projects like Tesla and SpaceX initially seemed incredibly risky. He invested his personal funds despite skeptical forecasts. However, Musk didn't act blindly. He conducted extensive research, assembled a team of professionals, and managed to transform risks into groundbreaking innovations. Strategic risk involves pushing the boundaries of what's possible while minimizing undue vulnerability. It's a balance between boldness and caution, between intuition and calculation. In everyone's life, there's likely a risk they've diligently avoided. Perhaps it was starting a promising new project, drastically changing careers, or following their heart despite seemingly uncertain prospects. But what if that very fear of risk is the key that can fundamentally change the situation and lead to long-awaited success? It's worth considering how to use failures as powerful fuel for forward momentum. Society often cultivates a fear of failure, presenting it as the complete opposite of success. However, in reality, failure is often the shortest path to triumph. Every setback contains valuable lessons and insights that help refine strategy and hone competitive advantages. A prime example is the story of J.K. Rowling, who faced countless rejections before Harry Potter conquered the world. If she had allowed those failures to stop her, the world would never have known the magical universe created by her imagination. But Rowling used each rejection as valuable feedback, carefully analyzing and refining her approach until she finally found the right path to success. Failure isn't a dead end. It's valuable data that signals what isn't working and helps identify what will truly deliver the desired outcome. What life failures still weigh you down like an unbearable burden? How can you transform them into a springboard for further growth? Consider the concept of narrative control, a powerful tool often underestimated in the modern world. The way a person presents themselves, their ideas, and their life journey directly influences how others perceive them and, consequently, the opportunities that arise. A case in point is Steve Jobs, whose triumph was driven not only by innovative products, but also by a skillfully crafted story. He positioned Apple not merely as a technology corporation, but as a movement embodying creativity and individuality. Through narrative control, he cultivated an army of loyal fans and revolutionized entire industries. This principle applies to each of us. What story are you telling about yourself? Are you presenting yourself as someone capable of solving complex problems, as an innovator who brings value, or are you allowing fears and doubts to define how you're perceived? However, there's a key factor that fundamentally changes the game: mastering your environment. You can possess all the necessary levers of influence, take calculated risks, and control your narrative. But if you're in an unfavorable environment, your growth will inevitably be limited. Philosopher Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." The surrounding environment, whether it's the workplace, social circle, or community, plays a significant role in shaping thinking and expanding opportunities. If someone is constantly surrounded by negativity, doubt, and complacency, it's like trying to grow a tree in poisoned soil. Conversely, if the environment challenges, inspires, and stimulates development, a person's potential increases exponentially. Consider how much your surrounding environment contributes to personal growth and goal achievement, or conversely, hinders development. What adjustments can you make to surround yourself with people and opportunities that align with your aspirations? Ultimately, a comprehensive approach is needed for radical life changes. It's important to identify and leverage unique strengths, take calculated risks, learn from failures, and control the image a person projects to the world. Mastering the surrounding environment for success also plays a crucial role. These aren't just theoretical reflections, but concrete steps that can be taken immediately. By combining them, you can create a solid foundation for transforming life according to your own desires. However, there's more to it than that. In this final section, we will present the most significant discovery, one that unifies everything discussed so far and fundamentally alters our perception of problems and opportunities. This revelation will be a turning point, capable of transforming not only our approach to business, but our entire lives. Previously, we examined methods for defining rules, developing strategic thinking, and implementing practical actions to shift the game in our favor. Now we approach the culminating and most significant discovery, which does not simply provide an advantage in the game, but completely transforms the game space itself. It begins with a simple yet profound truth: the game only becomes reality when you believe in it. Take a moment to consider this. All the systems, expectations, and frameworks instilled in us since childhood are, for the most part, artificial constructs. They exist only because we, as a society, accept them. But once we realize that many of these supposedly immutable rules are actually optional, a new level of freedom and opportunity opens up, one that most people are not even aware of. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "You do not have to remain the same person you were 5 minutes ago." This is not just about personal reevaluation, but also about understanding that the very game we are involved in can be changed, rethought, or even completely abandoned. What if we radically changed our approach, and instead of striving to win within the existing rules, simply refused to participate in the game? Throughout human history, outstanding minds, leaders, and innovators have not simply adapted to current conditions, but have created entirely new rules of the game, shaping different realities. They boldly stepped outside the boundaries of familiar systems and developed their own unique strategies. A prime example is Henry Ford. Before his revolutionary changes in the automotive industry, the automobile was a luxury item, accessible only to the elite. The existing game was about competing for a narrow market segment. However, Ford did not strive to win in this game. He dreamed of changing it. By introducing assembly line production and mass production of automobiles, he made them accessible to the general population, transforming not only the industry, but also society as a whole. Another example is Mahatma Gandhi. Faced with British colonial rule, he did not resort to violent struggle, which would have been the expected reaction. Instead, he completely revised the rules, leading a non-violent resistance movement that ultimately led to India's independence. Gandhi's strength lay not in being better at playing by the existing rules, but in fundamentally refusing to participate in the imposed game. Ultimately, this leads to an awareness that grants true freedom. True power stems from the ability to independently define the criteria for success. Society often imposes participation in a race for external attributes, material well-being, social status, and universal recognition. However, these external signs of approval turn out to be ephemeral and devoid of true value if they do not align with the internal beliefs and aspirations of the individual. The greatest satisfaction is achieved not by those who possess the greatest wealth or fame, but by those who have managed to build a life that resonates with their deepest desires. An example is the story of Viktor Frankl, an outstanding psychiatrist who survived the horrors of the Holocaust. In his fundamental work, Man's Search for Meaning, he emphasized the importance of finding purpose even in the most unbearable circumstances. Frankl concluded that despite the lack of control over external events, a person always has power over their interpretation of what is happening and their reaction to it. His main thesis is that the meaning of life is not given from the outside, but is created by the person themselves. In this regard, the question arises, what does success actually mean for each of us? This is not about stereotypes imposed by society or the expectations of family, but about what resonates deeply within the soul. Does a person strive for goals that bring genuine satisfaction, or are they trapped in other people's ideas about achievement? This is where the true metamorphosis of the individual begins. The moment a person stops evaluating themselves based on generally accepted criteria and begins to be guided by their own deeply rooted values, the usual course of things changes dramatically. There is no longer a need to engage in a struggle within a system originally designed for containment, because the individual creates their own coordinate system, where they set the rules, define the goals, and assign the rewards. Of course, this does not mean abandoning aspirations or disregarding success as such. It's about focusing on goals that have personal meaning, using your unique abilities, and building a life that reflects your true essence. It's a transition from seeking external validation to finding internal satisfaction and harmony. But here's the paradox. When a person stops obsessively striving to win the conventional game, success often comes effortlessly. Why does this happen? The reason lies in the fact that people are attracted to sincerity, purposefulness, and genuine passion. When actions are dictated by true alignment with one's values, new opportunities open up, connections with others are strengthened, and success becomes a natural result of these actions. Consider the iconic figure of Steve Jobs, whose insatiable passion extended far beyond a mere desire for financial gain. He was obsessed with creating aesthetically pleasing, revolutionary technologies that deeply resonated with his unwavering belief in elegant simplicity and impeccable design. His genuine enthusiasm and sincerity served as a powerful magnet, attracting both loyal customers and talented employees who shared his vision. So how do you begin this exciting process of redefining success and building a life that aligns with your personal beliefs? First and foremost, it's essential to reconnect with your core values. Take time to deeply reflect on what truly matters to you, what brings you genuine joy and a sense of fulfillment. It is the awareness of and adherence to your values, rather than society's imposed expectations, that allows you to find true purpose and meaning in life. This becomes a solid foundation for creating your own unique game. Once you have clearly defined your values, proceed to set goals that are in complete harmony with them. These goals should not be limited solely to career achievements. They can encompass personal growth, building strong relationships, unlocking creative potential, or making a meaningful contribution to your community. Sincere goals that resonate with your values serve as a powerful source of internal motivation, turning the process of achieving them into an engaging and rewarding journey, no less valuable than the final destination. Life will undoubtedly continue to test us, but when a person stands firmly on the foundation of their purpose, these challenges take on a deeper meaning. True resilience lies not merely in returning to the starting point, but in qualitative growth and development, as the roots run deeper than just external attributes of success. It is crucial to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who fully support your chosen path, rather than trying to bring you back to the familiar rut of old patterns. Building a community that reflects your values and aspirations becomes the key to success. The essence of the game you create is not about flawlessly following the set parameters, but about constant growth, continuous exploration, and organic evolution. You should celebrate even the smallest step forward, because it is the combination of these steps that brings you closer to the life you are destined to live. It is important to realize that the main strength lies in understanding that a person is not just a participant in the game of life, but its full-fledged architect. Everyone has the opportunity to question established rules, redefine the very concept of success, and create a life that is in harmony with their innermost truths. What will be done with this knowledge? Will the game continue to be played by the old rules, or will a step be taken towards the freedom of creating your own unique path? The choice remains with each individual, and in this lies the greatest power that a person possesses.